Hi Mark, I'm Bella Chen Qianyu. My student number is S0441017. I'm sophomore at NCUE. Leana Wen, why your doctor won't disclose? They told me that I'm a traitor to my own profession, that I should be fired, have my medical license taken away, that I should go back to my own country. My email got hacked. In a discussion forum for other doctors, someone took credit for Twitter bombing my account. Now, I didn't know if this was a good or bad thing, but then came the response. Too bad it wasn't a real bomb. I never thought that I would do something that will provoke this level of anger among other doctors. Becoming a doctor was my dream. I grew up in China, and my earliest memories are being rushed to the hospital because I had such bad asthma that I was there nearly every week. I had at least one doctor, Dr. Sam, who always took care of me. She was about the same age as my mother. She had this wild, curly hair, and she always wore these bright yellow flowery dresses. She was one of those doctors who, if you fell and you broke your arms, she would ask you why you are not laughing because it is your humerus. Get it? See, you are gone. But she'd always make you feel better after having seen her. Well, we all have that childhood hero that we want to go out to be just like, right? Well, I wanted to be just like Dr. Sam. When I was 8, my parents and I moved to the U.S., and ours became the typical immigrant narrative. My parents cleaned hotel room and washed dishes and pumped gas so that I could pursue my dream. Well, eventually I learned enough English, and my parents were so happy the day that I got into medical school and took my oath of healing and service. But then one day, everything changed. My mother called me to tell me that she wasn't feeling well. She had a cough that won't go away. She was short of breath and tired. Well, I knew that my mother was someone who never complained about anything. For her to tell me that something was the matter, I knew something had to be really wrong. And it was. We found out that she had stage 4 breast cancer that by then had spread to her lungs, her bones, and her brain. My mother was brave, though, and she had hope. She went through surgery and radiation and was on her 3rd round of chemotherapy. When she lost her address book, she tried to look up her oncologist's phone number on the internet, and she found it, but she found something else too. On several websites, he was listed as a highly paid speaker to a drug company, and in fact often spoke on behalf of the same chemo regime that he had prescribed her. She called me in a panic, and I didn't know what to believe. Maybe this was right chemo regime for her, but maybe it wasn't. It made her scared, and it made her doubt. When it comes to medicine, having that trust is a must, and when the trust is gone, then all is left is fear. There's another side to this fear. As a medical student, I was taking care of this 19-year-old who was biking back to his dorm when he got stuck and hit, run over by an SUV. He had 7 broken ribs, staggered hip bones, and he was bleeding inside his belly and inside his brain. Now, imagine being his parents who flew in from Seattle 2,000 miles away to find their son in a coma. I mean, you want to find out what is going on with him, right? They asked to attend our besides around where we discuss his condition and his pain plan, which I thought was a reasonable request, and also would give us a chance to show them how much we were trying and how much we cared. The head doctor, though, said no. He gave all kinds of reasons. Maybe they will get in the nurse's way. Maybe they will stop students from asking questions. He even said, "What if they see mistake and sue us?" What I saw behind every excuse was deep fear, and what I learned was that to become a doctor, we have to put on our white coat, put on a wall, and hide behind it. There is a hidden epidemic in medicine. Of course, patients are scared when they come to the doctor. Imagine you wake up with this terrible belly ache. You go to the hospital. You are lying in a strange place. You are on the hospital urgently. You are wearing this flimsy gown. Strangers are coming to poke and prod at you. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't even know if you are going to get the blanket you asked for 30 minutes ago. But it's not just patients who are scared. Doctors are scared too. We are scared of patients finding out who we are and what medicine is all about. And so what do? We put on our white coats and we hide behind them. Of course, the more we hide, the more people want to know what it is that we are hiding. The more fear then spirals into mistrust and poor medical care. We don't just have a fear of sickness, we have sickness of fear. Can we bridge this disconnect between what patients need and what doctors do? Can we overcome this sickness of fear? Let me ask you differently. If hiding isn't an answer, what if we did the opposite? What if doctors were to become totally transparent with their patients? Last fall, I conducted a third research study to find out what is that people want to know about their health care. I didn't just want to study patients in a hospital, but everyday people. So my two medical students, Suhavi Tucker and Luna Jones, literally took their research to the streets. They went to banks, coffee shop, senior centers, Chinese restaurant, and train station. What did they find? Well, when we ask people, what do you want to know about your health care? People respond with what they want to know about their doctors, because people understand healthcare to be the individual interactions with them and their doctors. When we ask, what do you want to know about your doctors? People get three different answers. Some want to know that their doctor is competent and certified to practice medicine. Some want to sure that their doctor is unbiased and is making decisions based on evidence and science, not on who pay them. Surprisingly to us, many people want to know something else about their doctors. Jonathan, a 28-year-old law student, said he wants to find someone who is comfortable with LGBTQ patients and specialize in LGBT health. Serena, a 32-year-old accountant, said it is important to her for her doctor to share her values and when it comes to reproductive choice and women's rights. Frank, a 95 and 59-year-old hardware store owner, doesn't even like going to the doctors and wants to find someone who believes in prevention first, but who is comfortable with alternative treatments. One after another, our respondents tell us that the doctor-patient relationship is a deeply intimate one. That to show their doctors their bodies and to tell them their deepest secrets. They want to first understand their doctor's values. Just because doctors have to see every patient doesn't mean that patients have to see every doctor. People want to know about their doctors first so that they can make an informed choices. As a result of this, I form a campaign, Who's My Doctor, that calls for totally transparency in medicine. Participating doctors voluntarily disclose on a public website not just information about where we went to medical school and what specialty we are in, but also our conflicts of interest. We go beyond the government in the Sunshine Act about drug company applications and we talk about how we paid. Incentive matters. If you go to your doctor because of back pain, you might want to know he's getting paid $5,000 to perform spine surgery versus $25 to refer you to see a physical therapist, or if he is getting paid the same thing no matter what he recommends. Then we go one step further. We add our values when it comes to women's health, LGBT health, alternative medicine, preventive health, and the end-of-life decisions. We pledge to our patients that we are here to serve you, so you have a right to know who we are. We believe that transparency can be the cure of fear. I found some doctors would sign on and others won't, but I had no idea of the huge backlash that would ensue. Within 1 week of starting Who's My Doctor, Medicaps publicly formed and several online doctors communities had thousands of posts about this topic. Here are a few. From a gastroenterologist in Poland, I devote 12 years of my life to being a slave. I have long and mortgages. I depend on lunch from drugs companies to serve patients. Well, times may be hard for everyone, but try telling your patient making $35,000 a year to serve a family, or for that you need a free lunch. From an orthopedic surgeon in Calgary, I found it an invasion of my privacy to disclose where my income comes from. My patients don't disclose their income to me, but your patient's source income doesn't affect your health. For psychologists in New York City, pretty soon we will have to disclose whether we prefer cats to dogs, what model of cars we drive, and what toilet paper we use. Well, how you feel about Toyotas or Colonials won't affect your patient's health, but your views on a woman's right to choose and preventive medicine and end-of-life decision just might. And my favorite from a Kansas City cardiologist, more government mandate stuff. Dr. Wayne needs to move back to her own country. Well, 2 pieces of good news. First of all, this is meant to be voluntary and not mandatory. And second of all, I'm American and I'm already here. Laughter and applause. Within a month, my employers were getting calls asking for me to be fired. I received mail at my undisclosed home address with threats to connect the medical board to sanction me. My friends and my family urged me to quit this company. After the bomb threat, I was down, but then I heard from patients over social media, a tweet chat, which I did learn what that was by then, generate 4.3 million impressions, and thousands of people wrote to encourage me to continue. They wrote with things like, if doctors are doing something they are ashamed of, they shouldn't be doing it. Elected officials have to disclose campaign contributions. Lawyers have to disclose conflicts of interest. Why shouldn't doctors? And finally, many people wrote and say, let us patients decide what's important when we are choosing a doctor. In our initial trials, over 300 doctors have taken the total transparency pledge. What a crazy new idea, right? But actually, it's not that new of a concept at all. Remember Dr. Sam, my doctor in China, with the golfy jokes and the wild hair? Well, she was my doctor, but she is also our neighbor who lived in the building across the street. I went to the same I went to the same school as her daughter. My patient and I trust her because we knew who she was and what she stood for. And she had no need to hide from us. Just one generation ago, this was the norm in the U.S. as well. You knew that your family doctor was the father of two teenage boys, that he quit smoking a few years ago, that he said he's a regular church goer, but you see him twice a year, once at Easter and once when his mother-in-law comes to town. You knew what he was about. He had no need to hide from you, but his sickness of fear has taken over. The patient suffered the consequences. I know this firsthand. My mother fought her cancer for 8 years. She was a planner, and she thought a lot about how she wanted to live and how she wanted to die. Not only did she sign advance directive, she wrote a 12-page document about how she had suffered enough, how it was time for her to go. One day, when I was a resident physician, I got a call to say that she was in a intensive care unit. By the time I got there, she was about to be intubated and put on a breath machine. But it is not what she wants, I said, and we have documents. The ICU doctors look at me in the eye, point at my then 16-year-old sister and say, "Do you remember when you were that age? How would you have like to grow up without your mother?" Her oncologist was there too and said, "This your mother. Can you really face yourself for the rest of your life if you don't do anything for her?" I knew my mother so well. I understood what her directive meant so well, but I was a physician. That was the single hardest decision I've ever made, to let her die in peace, and I carry those words of those doctors with me every single day. We can bridge the disconnect between what doctors do and what patients need. We can get there because we have been there before, and we know that transparency gets us to that trust. Research has shown us that openness also helps doctors, that having open medical records, being willing to talk about medical errors will increase patient trust, improve health outcomes, and reduce malpractice. That openness, that trust is only going to be more important as we move from the infectious to the behavioral model of disease. Bacteria might not care so much about trust and intimacy, but for people to tackle the hard lifestyle choices, to address issues like smoking, deception, blood pressure management, and diabetes control, well, that requires us to establish trust. Here's what other transparency doctors have said. Brandon comes and interested in Denver. This has brought me closer to my patient, the type of relationship I've developed. That's why I entered medicine. Aaron's double an interest in Denver. I tell my patient that I'm totally open with them. I don't hide anything from them. That's me. Now, tell me about you. We are in this together. May Nugent, a family psychologist physician in Houston. My colleagues are astounded by what I'm doing. They ask me how I could be so brave. I say, I'm not being brave, it's my job. I leave you totally with a final thought. Being totally transparent is scary. You feel naked, exposed, and vulnerable. But that vulnerability, that humanity, it can be an extraordinary benefit to the practice of medicine. When doctors are willing to step off their pedestal, take off our white clothes, and show our patients who we are and what medicine is all about. That's when we begin to overcome the sickness of fear. That's when we establish trust. That's when we change the paradigm of medicine from one of secrecy and hiding to one that is fully open and engaged for our patients. Thank you. Applause. It's all about my recording. Thank you.